Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and good morning to Bridget Gabriel. Brigitte, of course, has been on our program many, many times, and she sent this to us as of last Friday. Memorial Day is a special day in America, as we remember and honor those who sacrificed everything so our flag can fly high and America can prosper for generations to come. Our flag does not fly because of the wind behind it. It flies because of each soldier who died protecting it and what it stands for. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, saying, hey, if you're getting ready for a road trip, they've got all your tires. Stop into all 7 locations serving you. Also, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, hello, Captain.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, my dear friend. I got a feeling you're going to call back in a little bit, so have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too.
All right, buddy. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at K&R Rental. Good morning, Roger and the crew. You know, I know sometime this morning on the program I'm going to inadvertently say Monday. Today's Monday. No, it's not. It's Tuesday. I'm having a hard time remembering that. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. All the rental of the best tools and equipment that you need. I mean, if you're out getting that yard spruced up, they've got all the power rakes and the rototillers and the post-hole diggers and the forklifts and the power tools and the lawnmowers. They've got it all at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, 678-3122. Right now, here's our weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we are coming off a beautiful 3-day Memorial Day weekend, and here's what we're expecting. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 78. Winds out of the west right around 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 51. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, we are expecting some severe thunderstorms, bringing along with it large hail and damaging winds. Other than that, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow with a high of 79. Those storms could continue through tomorrow evening, tapering off by about 1 o'clock in the morning, expecting a low of 52. For Thursday, chance of showers and thunderstorms maybe in the afternoon, partly sunny skies with a high of 73. For Thursday night, that could continue with a low of 47. And as we get ready for the weekend on Friday, 30% chance of showers with a high of 72. And Saturday, sunny and 78. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Did you notice how she said thunder showers, high winds, maybe some damaging winds? Oh, my God. And then sunny and nice. I love that. Thanks, Gina. Great forecast. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Number to call. Get information you need from Roger and the crew at 678-3122. K&R Rental. Hey, don't forget to Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley with Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. This is the sale that works for you. Don't forget 678-9411. 678-9411, the number to call for cattle consignments and, of course, sale information. Coming up on Thursday this week at 10:30, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. And also, real quick, our friends over to Daryl's Cleaners. And I got to tell them, I got a full bag of clothes to bring in after all that last week and of course, the holiday weekend. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I bet you got a lot of tablecloths, maybe that you used, for outside on the picnic table and everything, all stained with mustard and ketchup and relish and all that stuff. Take them in there to Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They can clean anything. You be sure and get a hold of them today. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley, absolutely the best. It's going to take me a little while. I was gone last Thursday, and I want to take this time to thank Sharon Hardy Mills. Sharon Hardy Wilmot. I hope I get used to saying that name. She's recently married, and I want to just give her a big thank you for everything she did filling in for me last Thursday. We had some personal things we had to take care of, and I just want to say thanks very much. And to my audience out there that has shown so much concern for my beautiful wife, I can't tell you enough. Thank you for all your cards and emails and calls and everything else. We are supposedly just kind of wrap things up a little bit. We're going to hopefully know a lot more this Thursday after test results are in and everything. And I will share as much as I can with you on that day or the following Monday. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Mary Scott is having a birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Nice lady. Mary Scott. Wish her a very happy birthday. And she's buying the ice cream. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mary. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. It's easy to say, Zeb. It's heating. There you go. At 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley for all. And that's not brag, that's fact. All your heating and cooling and electrical needs at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And now that we're going to be seeing some warmer temps, and you turn on your air conditioner, make sure you get all the filters to keep your air conditioning unit working efficiently and cool. Absolutely. All of this at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, a big thank you, caller. I'm a-coming. Boy, our home phone has been ringing like son of a gun this morning. Hey, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thomas and the rest of the crew with the most delicious food, great menu, and fantastic people. Serving you at 611 North Overland in Burley. Denny's Restaurant, it is America's Diner. And they also have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. You're going to love it. I guarantee at Denny's Restaurant, and they're located at 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and they are America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I came past your house yesterday afternoon, and it looked like you were getting ready for a rodeo.
Well, we had my we had my family and friends over to celebrate Memorial Day with a barbecue and everything, and a little bit of roping and playing, and the weather yesterday. I heard some people complaining about it. What was there to complain about? It was beautiful yesterday.
It was. We went to Twin Falls on something we had to have that we couldn't get in Burley, and we just happened to come back around to Highway 30, and we had thought about stopping and seeing how Deanne was doing, but we thought, no, you're probably going to be real busy. And sure enough, when we went by, there was all kinds of cars there, and I mean, trailers and everything. I could have swore it was the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo.
Well, we had a lot of outfits pulled in there, and to the limited parking, it's kind of like, boy, we got to move this one over about an inch and that one over about an inch to get everybody in. But I appreciate it, Keith. You and Nancy are special good friends. Thank you so much.
You know, in the news this morning, it showed these kids in a cage like an animal, and they were saying how they have to separate the parents from their children on these illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And they were trying to blame Trump for this.
Yeah.
Turns out that photo was from 2014.
Yep.
And so that was a bad deal. And then they still wanted to harp on it, so the Attorney General Sessions got on there and said it is the policy that if there's any question about these people are separated there so they can get the parents straightened out, or if they're, just using the children as a shield or something, why they can get to this straight of it.
Keith, I'm just going to kind of sum up what you said, and I think you're going to agree with my summation. I am sick and tired of the news media, our news media, and the left reversing the guilty roles to turn it over to the right, which I mean conservatives and Republicans and Donald Trump. In other words, they're shifting the blame. Who really is to blame if they come here illegally, bringing and dragging their kids with them across the border illegally, and we have to take care of them? It is the blame of the parents. It's the blame of the illegality of the act of coming into this country, and certainly not our government. I'm sick of this blame shifting, and I want to see if you concur.
Well, I certainly do, and the thing of it is, if their parents are guilty of something, you load them and the children up and send them back. I don't know whether they fly them back first class or even where they send them, but we don't want them in the United States if they're undesirable.
Well, there you go, and I'm sick of this bleeding heart. I thought Frosty Woolridge last week did an excellent 4-part series on the costs, it's to what it's going to cost us, the taxpayers, the changing of our culture, and also the hazards to the environment of all these people coming in mass group numbers. And I want to thank Frosty publicly for a great 4-part series.
Yeah, and I got most of it, but not all of it. But that was, and you don't think about these things at the time.
That's right. That's right.
The sewage.
Yep.
Gosh, can you imagine what that's like?
Well, I don't want to right now. I just had breakfast not that long ago, so thank you for bringing that up. I got to run and pay some bills, Keith. God bless you, man. Thank you for all your kind thoughts.
You have a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Living at home, you can have a lot of risk if you're a senior, and I do not want you to have risk. No, I want you to call Pomerell Place, a place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Number to call, 677-8212. Offering the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. I know these people that operate it. I know the atmosphere and the environment. You need to call them today, 677-8212. Pomerell Place in Burley, 1301 Bennett Street. You call them today. I also want to say this. It was absolutely a memorable Memorial Day. And as I said, we had family and friends here for a barbecue yesterday. I felt really, really bad that my son Jake and his family could not come down due to a confliction of schedules. Shanna's a nurse. Jake is assistant fire captain and all this kind of stuff, and they just couldn't get away. But we had an opportunity to remember yesterday, and all of us sitting in a great big circle gave tribute and a thank you to those folks in the military and those that have gone to eternity serving this great United States and protecting us. And, of course, it brought back a lot of memories of my high school and college buddies that did not come home. And many of those that did, terribly scarred and hurt. And then the conversation yesterday went to the NFL athletes. If you want to be kind, there are many, many names I could use. Overpaid, underworked prima donnas that have not done anything for this great country except be a blemish on the face of patriotism. And that's as kind as I can get to them. And they absolutely, they being some of the NFL football players, not all, absolutely have demonstrated that they do not respect our flag. They do not respect our nation. And they do not respect those that serve our great country. One of the players, Seattle's Doug Baldwin, I have lost all respect, if I had any at all, for him and his playing ability, came out, and I'm quoting, that he was talking about President Trump, and he said the following: he's an idiot, plain and simple. I respect the man because he's a human being first and foremost, but he's just being divisive. Trump is being divisive. Right there I stopped, and I threw my hands up in the air, and I said some expletives that probably are not airworthy. Trump is being divisive. It is you, Mr. Baldwin. It is you and other NFL players that are being divisive. You have created this mess. You have created this animus against you and the NFL for being absolutely, in my opinion, unpatriotic, uncaring, and unloving of this country that has provided you a huge income for playing a young person's game. I feel no sympathy towards the NFL whatsoever. I feel an animosity. And when I saw some of the stories about Memorial Day, some of the stories about our soldiers who have given the ultimate sacrifice for this flag, red, white, and blue, waving over this land, America. And then I thought about these worthless NFL athletes sitting or kneeling during our anthem, and I thought, what have you contributed? What have you given? What have you provided to maybe the inner cities or any other groups that need help? What have you done? Nothing. Nothing. Expressed your hatred against this country that has provided you an income and a lifestyle that no other country ever could or would. And yet they sit there and they want to kneel. And they want to sit during the national anthem. And you've got to know this. You've got to know this. Muslim Democratic Representative Keith Ellison of Minnesota. Now listen carefully so you understand the gist of what he is saying. He's calling for an NFL boycott because of the ban on athletes kneeling or sitting during the anthem. Now, understand, he said this: I won't be watching this NFL season because, listen carefully to this, of the unfair, cowardly, and idiotic kneeling ban. So in other words, he's not going to watch the NFL because he says the NFL, by forcing players to stand, no, I can't hold that. I want them to kneel. I want them to sit. And then this representative of our United States of America, a Democratic representative from Minnesota, is saying, well, I'm not going to watch the NFL this year because they told the players they could not kneel or sit during the anthem. This is a guy that was voted in Minnesota to represent the people of Minnesota back in Washington. He's a leech, a blood-sucking leech. And he also once said, and I did a little research on this morning, Keith Ellison once said, black people don't have obligations to obey government. Now think about that. Black people don't have obligations to obey government. And this guy is a United States congressman. Shows how far into the cesspool we have slipped. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number for you to call and make an appointment so they can help you, and they will help you, is 678-1191. They want you to get back to being you. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists are excellent. How do I know? Because they've helped me. And they have that hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind. Absolutely get you back in the game. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. That number, again, write it down. Don't forget it, 678-1191. Excellent people. And to our friends with Dino Septic Service, you don't want to be standing around with a septic system that's all clogged up and it's bubbling up in the backyard and everything. Oh, my goodness sakes, call Dino Septic Service. They can help. They will help. Liquid waste removal, water and sewer lines installed, and, of course, septic tanks pumped, and fast, fair, friendly service with a smile on their face. Call them today. Number in Rupert, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Always with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino Septic Service. You be sure and get a hold of them today. I would appreciate some calls, so give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm really going to have to watch my words on this one. The so-called comedian, Michelle Wolf, you remember her? She was the so-called comedian that was at the press dinner. Remember that? And she stood up and she went and tore into, in a very unprofessional manner, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, sitting less than 3 feet away from her, and just made some vile and filthy and derogatory remarks about Sarah Huckabee Sanders, pardon me. And now she's back at it again. No, Netflix gave her a job. I can't believe this. Gave her a job on a humor show, and I use the term humor lightly in her regard. She absolutely tore into Sarah Huckabee Sanders again. And it's not funny humor. You know, Don Rickles used to tear people apart. You've heard other commentators say this, tear people apart, but it was in a vein of kind of a roast, and he showed a lot at the end of the love and the respect that he had for the people, not this person. Oh, no. This is the stupid she-witch. Notice how I articulated. She is the stupid she-witch that is absolutely, her course is to go after every conservative, anyone that is a Republican, and tear them up and spit them out, and that's what she's done to a lady that I think does a great job as the White House spokesman and at the press conferences, etc., Sarah Huckabee Sanders. But I feel, honestly, in my heart of hearts, that this person, Michelle Wolf, will get her comeuppance. What goes around comes around. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk about two guys that I'm going to send an email to later on today from my office, and they happen to be Democrats in D.C., Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. I want to tell them exactly, no holds barred, what I think of them, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Right now, I want to remind you, too, about Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. And call me. Come on. I can't do this as a monologue. You got to get involved and help me this morning, so give me a jingle. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. I believe Deanne told me that Juan's going to be on the air with us this Thursday. And then 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli and their Nampa location. Oh, yeah. All the equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. They've got all the Walker mowers. If your lawn looks like somebody wanted to stop in and rent it as pasture, you better get one of those Walker mowers and make it look good, okay? They've got all the Walker mowers. They've got all the Bobcats. They've got it all for you at Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see those good folks today. The reason... And by the way, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The reason I said what I said a moment ago about Democratic Adam Schiff, you know, he's this mealy-mouthed little Democrat that, we've got to keep the Trump investigation going. Why, this might happen, that might happen, and there's no proof whatsoever. And the same for Democrat Eric Swalwell. Hard name to say. Swalwell from California. These are a couple of dandies. But you know what they did? You know what they did? They called us that believe in having the Trump administration work for us, work for the betterment of America, work for possibly a peace between North Korea and us, work for a better economy, work for better national security. They called us that believe in what he might do and be able to get done as a president, they called us bums. Let that soak in for just a tad. Now, why are we bums if we support the Trump administration and what the Trump administration is doing? When you look up the word bum in the dictionary, it means that you're a loafer. It means that you're a beggar. It means that you're a vagrant. It means that you are a hobo. It means that you are a tramp. And it means that you are a drunken derelict. No, I am not. And I find it highly offensive that these two Democrats, I almost slipped, would call those of us that want to see success for America and those of us that want to see betterment to America through this administration, why are we called bums? Does that offend you? I don't know anybody that calls in on this program that would qualify as being a bum. And to be called that, and the derivatives of that word, highly offends me. So, that might never even get read by these two Democrats, but I'm going to send it anyway. I just want to let these donkey walkers know how offended I was at being called a bum. When I want to see the success that's going on with our foreign relationships, I want to see the toughness to make sure that America is always treated as number one, which we are. And I want to make sure that our economy grows and prospers for all Americans. And I certainly don't like being called a bum. What are your thoughts? Come on, give me a call. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Sounds like you had a great Memorial Day weekend.
I did.
Fantastic. Same here. A little take on what you're just talking about. Adam Schiff, you mean the little bony five look-alike?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, idiot. Well, the thing is where he calls all of us that support President Trump bums. Really, if he wanted to really find out who the real bums are, he just needs to look in his little group and the people that voted for him. They're the real bums.
You know, but really, why would you want to call a huge segment of the population, over 50% of the population that supported Donald Trump, and they still support his policies and they want to see his policies grow, why would you be so stupid as to call them bums?
Well, I don't know, but I'd like to see him keep doing it, because if they keep doing it, they're just going to alienate that many more voters on down the road. And they're actually kind of, to paraphrase, like a young robin dumping in their own nest.
Well, you know, the thing is, and I'm glad you said what you said, because you're 100% correct. I am going to save these stories when it gets close to the midterms in November. And I'm going to keep throwing them back onto the airwaves about what the Democrats have done, what the Democrats have said, and what they have called us. And I'm going to keep throwing that out in regards to letting everybody know how low-classed they are.
And, you know, the thing that's really kind of head-shaking to me is that the more they're saying, of course, like I said, the least voters and everything will go for them. And then when they get beat in the election, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you take like a conservative, I mean liberal so-called comedians like Michelle Wolf, and you take Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff and all the others. If they want to act that way, that's fine, because I think, like I said a moment ago, what goes around comes around, and I hope it comes around and runs right over them.
You and me both on that, my man.
All right, thank you for your call, sir. Thank you.
You got it. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, if you're still wondering, is Hillary around? We haven't heard anything from her for maybe 48 hours. Oh, yeah. Hillary is still out there. Hillary is still complaining. Hillary is being... I can't understand how this woman gets invited to do commencements at major universities, Yale, etc., and all she does is stand up there and have a complaint and an excuse speech about why she didn't win the presidency. Now she comes out in the last couple of days and she said that Fox News and Sinclair News, why, they're spreading propaganda. You know, the one thing we do on this program, and I'm very proud of it, is that before any story goes on the air, I verify it with the utmost care by calling news agencies in New York and Washington, D.C. By the way, I'll revert back to a story I just gave you a few minutes ago. The story that was written by Peter Hasson of the Daily Caller, a very highly respected news agency outlet, and the story about Muslim Democrat Keith Ellison saying that I won't be watching the NFL this season because of the unfair, cowardly, and idiotic kneeling ban. In other words, he's siding with the NFL players that want to sit and kneel. And then I gave you the story about Keith Ellison once said, and he did, black people don't have an obligation to obey government. Well, those are facts. And those are things that were said. And I tire of the news media that absolutely, and the left that always wants to change things, especially the truth, for their benefit. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I would love to hear from you. Give me a jingle. But Hillary, still ranting, and I just wish that she would go away. Please, Hillary, go away! America doesn't want or need you, if they ever did, anymore. Thank you. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. Oh, my goodness sakes, they are busy, but they really want to help you. Now's the time to get your fruit trees trimmed. And if you've had wind damage, with the wind we had over the last couple of months, I can imagine, wind damage, tree and shrub damage, give them a call, and they can help you with the trimming. Please call Scott's cell phone at 431-86... let me try that again and get the right number. 431-8733. 431-8733. 431-8733. Scott Gano Landscaping and Tree Trimming. You give him a call and his staff today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I've got a little lighter note for you. Today at the Senior Center, we're having meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy, yummy dessert. Tomorrow is chicken and rice, and I think we're having apple crisp for dessert, and we'll have the vegetables in between there. I urge everybody to make an attempt to come out and join us. We need your participation. Young or old, you don't have to be a senior to come and eat lunch with us.
Joe.
And we also could use some volunteer help in the kitchen in the mornings.
Absolutely.
3 hours. Have a good one.
Hey, Joe, wait a minute. I got a question for you.
All right.
Are you a fan of meatloaf like I am? A lot of people don't like meatloaf, but I do. How about you?
Oh, that cake makes that meatloaf so good it'll melt in your mouth.
Oh, it sounds good to me. Joe Taylor, thank you so much. God bless you. Senior Junction, we'll send them over. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I love that, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That's one of the nicest men I've ever had a chance to know, Joe Taylor. God bless him. And one of the sharpest realtors still in the business. Absolutely. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, a top North Korean official is on his way to New York City, and I think they're going to be making a lot of the pre-plans for the Trump summit. Well, according to the United States news media, why Trump had pulled the plug on that North Korean summit. Why Trump had done this wrong and Trump had done that wrong. Well, isn't it interesting that there's been a regathering of thoughts? And now the North Korean second official, I believe, in command is trotting over to New York City. Not trotting, but he's flying, but he's probably going to trot off the aircraft. And they're going to be making plans as to how this event's going to take place, how it's going to be formed, what's going to be done. Well, that's interesting. After the media last week blasted Trump and were so negative to him, saying, well, he botched it, he blew it, oh, man, this guy shouldn't be in office. And remember what they were saying last week about Trump is so dadgum dumb. I wrote a blog about that last week for my Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. And when you think about Donald Trump, I don't care what your thoughts are about his past or anything else. Just think about this. Here's a guy, a billionaire with a B, and he's built all over the world, and he's been a real estate entrepreneur, and he has sat down with the wealthiest people in the world with the biggest checkbooks and negotiated deals that were in his favor. And then the liberal left comes down, that dumb guy, I ought to use him as a coat hanger. How in the world did they get away with saying that? And now the North Koreans are coming back to the table. That put a lot of egg on a lot of faces on the left. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I sure wish y'all give me a call. We also want to remind you that we're going to have a weather forecast right now. Now, I want you to listen carefully to this weather forecast. We're going to have a quiz on it. No, I'm just kidding. I want you to listen to this weather forecast because it does have the sound of maybe summer. Okay, let's take a listen in a minute. But Right now, I want to remind you that Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. I urge you, if you're having any hearing problems, to give them a call. Let them help. They can and they will. Dr. Pickup and Dr. Mitchell, they really want to help you with your hearing. 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we are coming off a beautiful 3-day Memorial Day weekend, and here's what we're expecting. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 78. Winds out of the west right around 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 51. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, we are expecting some severe thunderstorms, bringing along with it large hail and damaging winds. Other than that, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow with a high of 79. Those storms could continue through tomorrow evening, tapering off by about 1 o'clock in the morning, expecting a low of 52. For Thursday, chance of showers and thunderstorms maybe in the afternoon, partly sunny skies with a high of 73. For Thursday night, that could continue with a low of 47. And as we get ready for the weekend on Friday, 30% chance of showers with a high of 72. And Saturday, sunny and 78. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, I tell you what, there is a lot there that she covered and a lot going to be happening with our weather. Thank you very much to Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, the number to call for a hearing screening and let them help you, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, now it's your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. There was another guy that, a radio host, and I'm not sure what town he is in. I did not find that. His name is Dean Obadala, and he can't stand Donald Trump. Hates him. And he's an anti-Trump radio host, and he compared, now listen to this carefully, this Dean Abdallah compared the bravery of those who fight back against President Donald Trump to the selfless sacrifice of military service members. Are you kidding me? Here's the quote, one of the quotes that this Dean Abdallah said on his radio program. He said, quote, "This Memorial Day weekend, let's honor the women and men who bravely sacrificed their lives fighting to protect our nation's freedoms by resisting Trump's attacks on our democracy. The resistance is the highest form of patriotism." Wow. And then on the page of his quote, they had the picture of the Statue of Liberty with a clenched fist. I guess this guy, in my opinion, Dean Obadala, resembles the south end of a mule headed north. But to say something that the women and men who sacrificed their lives fighting to protect our nation's freedom by resisting Trump's attack on our democracy, and then calling that the highest form of patriotism, that sickens me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. You can't discount a fool, even though the Democratic Party is losing a lot of their credibility to anybody with any kind of common sense at all. Unfortunately, you just can't discount a fool for his being, and it's really saddening that when we try to use our freedom of speech to say what we want, to promote America, to make America stronger, and to celebrate those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and those who are willing to do so, you have some jerk, dipwad, non-thinking person spout like this.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting when we try to do the right thing and say the right thing and be patriotic, we're the bad guy.
You know,
it doesn't sound like. Go ahead.
No, I said you summed it up very, very well, Riley, and to compare those that are in resistance to this administration with our soldiers that have given the selfless sacrifice for their military service, I think that's deplorable.
You know, when we we were resisting what Obama wanted to do, taking away our freedoms and taking away our health care and taking away everything that he can by handfuls and handfuls, and we were called bigots and racists and all this other kind of nonsense, when all we wanted to do was be free, freedom-loving Americans and work hard every day to make life easier for us and those around us.
Absolutely. Riley, you always kind of sum things up in a very proper vein. Thank you so much for your call.
You have a good day, sir.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Oh, by the way, another guy that we're so proud to have here in our country because he hates all of us so much, Louis Farrakhan. You know, Louis Farrakhan, the minister of Islam. Oh, yeah. He's calling for an end to white men. I'm not making this stuff up. Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, called for an end to white men on Sunday morning, saying that their, quote, nature is not in harmony with the nature of God. Therefore, they should all be gone. Farrakhan went on to claim that the white men had squandered the time God gave them to rule. They've had plenty of time. Now it's time to kick them out. And then he said in his message that included a list of traits that he believed were in the white man's nature, namely murder and dishonesty. Now, doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy? You get up in the morning and you got some guy like Louis Farrakhan saying that it's in our nature to murder and be dishonest. And he added that while white people were slaves to their natures, what black people do is by learning from your master. And so he's blaming the crime and the murders, like in Chicago and the inner cities. He's blaming it on you and me, because we're white. This is one of the most disgusting human beings on the face of the earth, and unfortunately, he is in this country. Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, saying that there should be an end to all white men. Boy, that's really, that's kind of joining everybody together and holding hands and singing Kumbaya, isn't it? What a disgusting and deplorable man. Oh, boy. Got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, and by the way, if you run out of things to worry about, the American Medical Association now wants to become involved in gun control. Yeah. The doctors. Now, it's not all doctors, but it's a percentage of those that are very liberal that want to pry into your life and my life, and they want to help create a kind of a system, if you will, for gun control. And they also want to turn into an advocacy group against guns and the ownership of guns, and they want to be able, when you're going in there and you got a cold and you got a cough, and they want to say, how many guns do you own? What kind of guns do you own? Why do you own guns? They want to kind of get into your head. Well, don't answer those questions. I'm telling you. If you go to a doctor that asks you questions that are very, very private about your ownership of guns and what kind of guns and what do you use them for and everything, just kind of look him in the eye and say, that's none of your doggone business. Give me the pills so I can go home. Our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they're saying get ready for a road trip. Oh, you got to have great tires to go on a road trip, and they've got great tires. All the different tires, all the different tread designs for your cars, pickup, SUVs, yep, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever you need tires for. They've got all the tires, and they've got all the knowledge of the tires, which ones will work best for you. Stop in and see them today, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, with the best in brakes, service and front end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. Oh my goodness. Above all, the best in service. They really take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yup, the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Now, coming up next hour, we've got Adam Coffrin coming on the program, and Adam is going to be on talking about self-defense, okay? And then at 9:30, we've got Vicky's Gardens. 9:45, we're going to have Jimmy Flowers on talking about the great big car show coming up and all kinds of good things. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch will be back in about 6-7 minutes. Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. You have a great day. Thank you. Oh, good morning. I know you're like me. You've wanted to say Monday, but it's not. It's Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, our great advertisers, too. And they're represented by Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I'll tell you what, old Wheels is over at the main studio, and he's going to give us this good word for our friends at Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Are you new to the area and you just don't know what to do with your garbage? Well, I do. Give them a call at Western Waste. Yep, Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Get on the weekly pickup route, and you can just stand there on the porch and wave goodbye to your garbage. 734-6969. That's the number to call. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. They do a fantastic job. By the way, too, don't forget our friends over at Ark Animal Hospital. Whether you got dogs, kitty cats, roping steers, horses, whatever, they can help you because they're a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all, and they can take care of them all at Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Number to call, number to remember, put it in big black letters or numbers on your refrigerator, 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital. And one final good thought here. I really, absolutely, every time I'm around Joel Heward, he's always got a smile on his face. He is one of the nicest people in the world, representing Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with his family and his staff serving you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, everything can just turn into a tumultuous occasion. Wait a minute, stop. Give them a call at 436-5636. They always treat you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert and Joel Heward also serving you at Morris and Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now. Adam Coffrin, how are you?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Not too bad, Adam. I was reading a little bit about your bio, and we've got some feedback on the line, Wheels. You've got to take care of it over there at the studio. You're the president of Safe Kids and the founder of the Hero program, which teaches school kids and businesses how to conduct yourself during a violent situation. And unfortunately, in these times, that's something all of us need to know. Can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of what you tell people?
You bet. So we talk about the HERO program, and the HERO is an acronym, and it stands for Hide, Escape, Run, and Overcome. And that was designed out of two things, really. Number one, what your body wants to do naturally, that natural fight, flight, or freeze that we all get under any sort of adrenaline or any sort of stress. And then number two, what we know keeps our military and our law enforcement safe every day, working the streets and fighting for our country. So the things that keep the adults safe in a career that's an absolute necessity, we try to package it up and put it in a way that we can teach it age appropriately, all the way from kindergarten kids to story and narrative, and like you said, all the way through the adults, because this is something we never got taught ever really growing up.
Adam, I don't know why. And again, Wheels, ride that gain over there at the studio, please. I don't know why we're having such an absolute horrendous amount of school shootings with these cowards that want to use subjects as students as targets of their attack. Can you give me kind of your thoughts as to why these people are aiming at students in schools? I just don't understand that.
I have a hard time understanding it as well. And, we look throughout time and history, and there's been a number of things that have threatened our kids before. But this is really something kind of new. This is no longer the boogeyman or the stranger or the monster under your bed, really. And there's a lot of theories on it. And one of my, and this is just really a personal take of mine, is I think we've gotten this particular generation to a point where they have a hard time with sociable skills. We spend so much time, behind video games and now social media, and on our phones and texting and Snapchatting and Facebooking. It almost feels as if the social skills that we all had growing up, to where if you had a problem or an issue, you go talk about it or you deal with it. Kids tend to, it seems to be that they're internalizing it to the point of, well, do I commit suicide, or do I commit an act of mass violence and then commit suicide?
You really bring up some good points there, Adam, and in kind of a retribution back to these school shooters, don't you find it almost ridiculous or bordering on insanity that some schools would collect a bucket of rocks to throw at the intruders? Really, this is insane to me. Am I wrong?
Well, in Overcome, we talk about doing whatever it is necessary to get away from this intruder, to get away from this person. And so in the classroom, we talk about not necessarily a bucket of rocks, but we talk about what can you use to distract, to create some chaos, and to dissuade and show resistance to this person. And it might be throwing, if this person comes in through the door and you're in the very first classroom, it might be throwing your pencils and your backpacks and your books and your coffee mugs, and yelling and screaming and creating an atmosphere where this person is no longer in control. We see active shooters and these other people. They thrive on the psychosis and on the ability of having control of their surroundings and control of other people. If you're able to remove that control, whether it be by throwing rocks, throwing books, yelling and screaming and running out the window or running out a secondary door, you start to change the tide of control from the person who wants to hurt you back onto us.
But Adam, let me back up just a little bit and say this. And again, you're the expert and you can chew on my statements if you like to. They consider, they being these perpetrators of evil, to go in and shoot in schools. They consider the schools soft targets where they can just walk in basically and do their evil. I think schools should become hard targets. I think schools should use every method necessary to make it absolutely impossible for these people to just walk in and do their mayhem. I don't care if we have school resources and resource officers with guns. I don't care if we have teachers with guns. I'm more concerned about the kids and their safety. Go ahead and respond to that.
Yeah, and you're hitting it really right on the nail, right on the head. Safety is a layered component to schools, and we look at airports and hotels and all kinds of different places that are secured in various ways. And obviously, airports are really the high end, where we put everyone through one or two entrances, and there's metal detectors and bag screening and ID checks and all that. When we talk about schools, a lot rings true. We want to make sure that we have a safe school that has got some sort of fencing around it, so not just anybody can walk in. We want to make sure that the people in our schools, both the staff, the faculty, and the students, all belong there. Those are all people who are supposed to be at that school. We look at some of the video cameras to see who is coming on the schools or who isn't, what's going on in our schools. We look at the school resource officers or security or public safety. These are all rings of safety ultimately around our students and our kids. Unfortunately, in some of these most recent shootings, they've either been current or former students. So sometimes, regardless of how many rings of safety you put around that school, if it's a student who is having a crisis or is having a problem, then they're going to walk all the way through those because they're supposed to be there.
But Adam, why today? Why today more so than it was when I was in high school? I know you can laugh and snicker. When I was in high school, we probably still circled the wagons at night. That was back in the 60s when I was in high school. We didn't have that kind of a problem. And if a couple of kids didn't get along with each other, they duked it out behind the school, and then it was off and done with and never to be brought up again. Why so much more today? The hatred and the animus to pick up something, a gun, a knife, whatever, and try to kill people.
I'll tell you, when I was in high school, it was the same thing. It was, you had a problem with somebody, and you would go outside, and, you'd fight after school or whatever it was, and then you'd be done. I think a lot of it is the permanency of now the Internet and online. Because, when a lot of us were in school, if someone made fun of you, you got picked on, you were bullied, you were embarrassed, that lasted for the occasion that it was at and the people that were around us. Now, if you have a issue or you're embarrassed, that could be online. It could be on Facebook for tens of thousands of people to see. And with the analytics of Facebook, now you can see that 1.4 K people or 2,000 people have seen this. And you can Google search it, and that photo pops up. I think there's an issue of the permanency that we're seeing in online cyberbullying. I think there is a problem in going back to how we express ourselves, the sociability of our kids, that they either feel they can't talk to adults, parents, they may talk to their friends. I think we have a problem with the outlet of some of this anger or this frustration. Another comment that I hear quite a bit in schools is the pressure of parents that they're putting on their kids to perform and to excel if those kids aren't meeting those expectations.
Adam, let me say this, and again, I'm opening myself up for your remarks, whether you agree or disagree, but I think in terms of bullying, in my day, my dad, I never will forget, I came home and complained one time about so-and-so's picking on me, I can't handle it. And my dad took me downstairs in the basement, I'll never forget it, and gave me a whooping. And then he said, you're going to get a worse whooping if you ever come home again and say that happened. You take care of it on your own. In other words, I think today we have sissified bullying to where we run and hide instead of confronting the problem when it happens. How wrong am I?
You're not that far off base, unfortunately. You look at, in our program, we talk about escaping and overcoming bullying, and what are some of the tools that kids can use to escape it and avoid it, and if they can't, how do you overcome it? But, again, and growing up, our parents would, to us, say, hey, look, suck it up, Buttercup, right?
Yeah,
go do something. Go handle yourself. That was part of, I think, growing up. We see time and again, and we hear it from school teachers, and we hear it from kids, and even from other parents, and parents who admit it. We have the helicopter parent syndrome where, now you would come home and say you're being picked on and bullied. Now the parents are blaming the school, they're blaming the teachers, they're blaming everybody else, and it's hard for kids to begin to understand how, as they grow up in life, to deal with some of this. Now, rightfully so, the school, to some degree, does need to step in on certain things, and parents absolutely need to be involved. But we see more and more often that the parents protect the students and their kids and then blame everybody else, yet will not take responsibility if they're told that their kid maybe is the bully and maybe something does need to be done.
Absolutely. Adam, I want to kind of go into another aspect of this. I traveled for years, 47 years on the road, and I was gone maybe 230 to 250 days a year. And I became very cognizant of where I should be, where I shouldn't be, what I need to be looking at, and what I need to be wary of. Would you say that most people, they need to develop that sense more so today than ever before because of the evil that surrounds our environment today?
Yeah, we call it being situationally aware, and that's simply just being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the dark alleys, of where the exits are in a room, more than one way out of a place that you walked in. I think we get, especially even as adults, we get so focused and zoned into our phones and what we're doing and texting and checking our updates that we can walk down the street and forget half the things that we saw. Or you look down as you're sitting at a restaurant, and all of a sudden it's 15 minutes later before you look up, and everybody around you has changed seats, and you never realized it. I think it's now more than ever we need to get back to focusing on the world around us, what's going on around us, listening to our sixth sense, if you will, as to this person doesn't feel right, this person seems dangerous, I'm a little uncomfortable, maybe I should cross the other side of the street, maybe I shouldn't walk down this dark alleyway. Just some of the basic tenets of your own personal safety.
What about the story of the knifing and the stabbing rampage over in Paris? How could you tell us, if we were in a similar circumstance, how could we get out of it or at least protect ourselves?
Well, in a knife or what we call a bladed edge attack, distance is 100% your friend. Whereas if the person uses a gun, distance is also your friend, but you need a lot more distance and hopefully some things in between you and the person with the firearm. With a knife, you can't be hurt unless the person actually can physically reach out and touch you. So if you have, you find yourself in a situation where someone is attacking you or a crowd around you with a knife, first and foremost, get away. Get your hands or your arms up in front of you to try to hopefully block if that person is close enough. A cut to your arm or to your wrist is not nearly as bad as a cut or a wound to your chest or your main body. And then try to get away, run, try to escape that area, get yourself into a place where you can lock the door behind you. You need physical space between you and that person with a knife.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you right there because you're putting a lot of people into the category of being able to run and flee. What about those of us that can't run and flee, and because of maybe a physical impairment, we're stuck there, man, we got to fight back?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So again, all of those require you to be ambulatory and be able to move. If you can't move that fast, or you have the inability to, look at the things that are around you, look at the things that you carry on you. If someone is coming at you with a knife, is it keeping your hands up and trying to push this person away? Is it trying to knock that knife out of the hand? Is it having keys in your pocket, or maybe you carry pepper spray? Or is it taking your car keys in your wallet and start to throw them at this person to try to get some distraction? Yelling, screaming, creating a little bit of chaos, creating attention to yourself. If you can't move, it's virtually doing anything and everything you can to push this person back and to keep your arms up in front of you, both in front of your head and your main body area.
You teach all this, and you have courses on this, and you've got, you're the president of Safe Kids. Are we more attuned to what safety means to us today than we were 10 years ago, or is it still an uphill battle to try to teach people they've got to be able to protect themselves?
Well, we saw after September 11th with the See Something, Say Something campaign. That campaign, in a sense, is a way of personal safety. Started to really permeate across the country. But now, here we are, over 10 years later, and we have found out that everyone knows See Something, Say Something. The problem is nobody knows what they're looking for. So the see something part, people aren't sure what they're supposed to see in order to say something. I think we are more aware that we need to be more cognizant of safety and the world around us. However, I think it's still an uphill battle to teach people what that is. What are the behaviors? What are the things that you should be looking for? And what are the things that should be concerning you?
Adam, one final thought. You just mentioned something about see something, say something. 5 years ago at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, I, along with a couple of other people in the concourse waiting for a flight, noticed a person come in with another person and had a cardboard box they stuck underneath their seat and seemed to be very nervous about everything, and they got up, both of them, and left the concourse and left that box under the seat. Myself and another person went up to the concourse agent, told them what we had seen, and the agent said, oh, well, we'll try to get somebody to come over and look at it in a few minutes. That's not the attitude that security needs to have. If we see something and say something, they darn sure better get on the ball and check it out.
Exactly. And if I were you in that situation, I would have discreetly started walking away from the area quickly. The security varies from, everywhere you go. Some are going to be fantastic security professionals or law enforcement professionals. Some are just not going to be at the same level. But if we're seeing something and you're recognizing it and you're saying something, absolutely, security and law enforcement professionals need to take a good look at that investigation. Absolutely.
Is there any final thoughts that you have for us this morning, whether it's families traveling together during the summer months or kids in summer school? Give us any final thoughts about security and safety.
For families, I say empower your kids. Have a quick conversation with your kids if something were to go wrong. If they're at summer camp or you're at the movies or the park and something happens, empower them to get out of there. Empower them to run away. Empower them to find a hiding place. Empower them to escape. Let them know that it's going to be okay and that we can do things. We can do something. We don't have to stay there. And develop a quick plan with your kids if you get separated or you're at a concert and something happens. Where do we meet? Where do we go? What should we do to bring the family back together?
Absolutely. Adam, I'm going to put you on the spot here. You are now our new in-house safety and security expert, so you got to come back on the program.
I wholeheartedly accept and look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, my friend, Adam Coffrin, and I really appreciate him being on the show, president of Safe Kids and the founder of the Hero program, which teaches school kids and businesses how to conduct yourself during a violent situation. Thank you very much. Want to remind you, we've got a new segment starting on Thursdays at 10:30. It's the Old Fishing Hole. Brought to you by Reese and the gang at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard. I'm looking forward to this. Josh is going to actually be out in the area, maybe fishing on the river, maybe fishing in the streams, whatever the case might be. We're going to have a live interview as he's trying to be at the Old Fishing Hole. So don't miss this. Sponsored by Sportsman's Warehouse, coming up on Thursdays at 10:30. Sportsman's Warehouse, they've got it all. You talk about fishing equipment, it's all there. You talk about the guns and the ammo and the clothing and everything else, it's all there for you at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls. Going to be a great program. I'm looking forward to it. Also want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, my goodness, they had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend with their big sale and everything. Well, I'll tell you what, they're still there, and they've still got an inventory that's absolutely going to serve you with the best of dining room sets and the best of mattresses and the best of recliners. I want to talk recliners. That's one of my favorite subjects. Oh, a good recliner after a hard day's work. Come in the house, sit down after supper, and enjoy that recliner. They've got them all. Great selection at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. The best of furniture, mattresses, accessories, floor and window coverings, all there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see them today. And real quick, also our friends at Let's Ride. Get your motor running. Boom, boom, boom. Head for the hills. I'll tell you what, Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Saturdays 9 to 4, all the four-wheelers, all the side-by-sides. You're going to go into that showroom and say, how'd they get all this in here anyway? I don't know. It's quite a feat. And they've got the best of accessories for you and a service department that can absolutely keep you running. Stop over and see them today. Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Absolutely, this is where the fun is sold. Good folks at Let's Ride. Right now, it is time to go across the river and through the woods to Miss Vicki at Vicki's Country Garden. Vicki, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Look out there. The sun's shining. There's not a cloud in the sky, and there's none of them little white pellets coming down.
But there might be later on this week.
Oh, no. We're done with that. I'm tired of that. That wasn't good.
Now, I got to ask you this, too, about your, you've been in gardening and everything for a long time. I mean, 21 years in business. That's really something to be proud of.
Well, yeah, it's been an ongoing event here, let me tell you.
Well, let me ask you this, though, Vicki. We did have a letter that came in the form of an email, and I'm assuming it's from somebody that you know, and they said, why don't you ask Vicki how she ever got started in the gardening business? So I'm asking you that right now.
Well, I had started working at some of the other garden centers in the area a long time ago. And actually, to be honest, when I started working for them, I didn't know the difference between a pansy and a petunia. I'd been raised on a cattle ranch, and that's about all I knew. And started working in there, kind of fascinated me. I started learning a lot, and after about 10 years of working for everybody else, I had a chance to buy this, and my family said, why are you working for everybody else? Why don't you work for yourself? So we bought it, and I stepped into this with 2 greenhouses, and now I'm up to 8, and here I am.
Holy cow, and pretty soon you'll see your picture on Forbes magazine, won't we?
I doubt that.
Oh, okay. Well, now listen.
But, it's a goal.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm proud of you. I really am. We've got a couple of letters to address here. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, here is a letter from a lady that is so honest, and she wants to learn about gardening. And she said, and again, it was a 3-paragraph letter, and I'm combining one question into that 3 paragraphs. She said, I've never gardened before in my life. I'm new in this area. What tools do I need to be a good gardener?
Well, one of the tools that you need is some determination and not being afraid of work. I mean, because a garden does take, if you're going to have a good one, it takes a lot of attentiveness and work to get it going. Basically, as far as mechanical tools, if that's what she's talking about, you're going to need a good rototiller so that you can keep the ground worked up good. You're going to need a sharp hoe and a good watering system.
Okay. And as far as tools are concerned, a good hoe, anything else that they might need?
Knowledge on their fertilizers, what kind of fertilizer to use, when to apply, when not to apply, that just basic common knowledge on how to plant a garden, as to where to put things. Don't put things together that aren't going to grow well together. Don't put your squash in the middle of the garden.
Okay.
About everything else.
Yeah.
Just things like that. But that's what we're here for. So, if there's any questions or anything that we can help with, don't hesitate to give us a call or come in and see us.
Let me ask you, and I think I asked you this last year, but what is the most humorous, or I guess I'll come right out and say it, dumb question that you've ever been asked about gardening?
Well, I guess one of them was, some folks came, this young gal came in and was buying a bunch of garden seed, and she had never planted a garden before. And I was helping her with all of her garden seeds and everything. And I got them all done, and I said, well, you're all set. And she goes, so what do I do next? And I said, well, get your garden spot ready, figure out a spot in your yard, get your dirt tilled up. And she says, I have to plant these in the dirt?
Are you serious?
And I said, well, what were you thinking? And she goes, I guess I hadn't gotten that far yet.
Oh, my God. She honestly did not know that you had to plant that in the dirt, right?
Yes.
And I would have loved to have been a mouse in the corner watching your face.
Sometimes you have to hold on with everything you got to keep from laughing.
Well, that leads me to another letter that we got, and this one was kind of funny, and I definitely can't read. Oh, we'll take a call first. We'll take a caller first. Caller, good morning. You're on the air with Miss Vicky over at Vicky's Country Gardens. Good morning. Talk to me, caller. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I said thank you. And Miss Vicky, on your potted plants, my wife's got a few of them hanging up. And what kind of fertilizer and how often to get the most bloom and the best growth in a potted plant?
Okay, well, on your hanging baskets and that kind of thing, you want to use a fertilizer on them at least 3 times a week. They're heavy feeders. They're used to being watered and fertilized pretty much on a daily basis to get them to push through the bloom there. And so you want we have one here that's called Blooming and Rooting. That is an excellent one that we recommend. It's a high phosphate that keeps the bloom going, keeps the plant going real well. But the main thing is good water saturation and a good fertilization on them about 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay, and you have it over at your store?
Yes, we do have.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I know that guy, and if he says he's got gardening and hanging baskets, he's telling the truth. He's a good old boy. Okay, now back to this letter. A lady said, and again I'm giving a summation, but here's the gist of the letter. Her neighbor has 2 big dogs that come over and lay in her garden every day, and the plants are really flattened. And she said, is my garden beyond hope?
That can be a real problem because if they break the plants off, yes, that can be a devastating situation. The neighbor, for one thing, needs to keep their dogs at home. That's not really fair to anybody else. But if you've got big dogs like that are laying in the garden, it's pretty much wherever they're laying, those plants are pretty much a done deal if they've broke them off at the ground.
Ooh, okay. It sounds to me like they kind of pick and choose where they're going to rest, and if they're that big of dogs, they can wreck a lot of plants.
They can wreck a lot of plants in a short period of time. Yes, they can, and that's really not fair. And there's not a whole lot you can do to stop them, unfortunately, shy of burying nails out there in the ground, pointed upright, so that when they lay down, it gives them, they don't want to do it, but then you run the risk of stepping on them yourself.
Yeah.
Those things, either a nice bird shot in the hind end, or I don't know, a few things like that might work.
Vicky, you're my kind of gal. I love it. Hey, we have another caller with a quick question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a question, and I was calling when she said about what to do for the dogs. What was that she had in the ground?
She said to put nails on a strip in the ground, and perhaps when they go to their resting point, they might jump about 3 feet in the air.
Okay, well, I have a squirrel problem in mine, and mothballs have worked around the house and places like that. But is it true that mothballs are not good for the soil?
I don't think mothballs hurt the soil any that much. But most dogs don't even smell them that much. It works for cats more than it does dogs on mothballs.
I know, I was talking about
dogs
squirrels.
are a hard one to get them to quit because nothing much phases them, shy of, like I say, just a good beating or thumping them good and getting them out of there, or hitting them in with some ammonia water in the face or something like that. I mean, you just have to get kind of, unfortunately, and I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you have to get a little tough on them if they're going to do that. But I still think it's up to the neighbors to keep their dogs at home.
No, I wasn't asking about dogs. I was asking about squirrels.
Vicky, what about the squirrels? She's got a squirrel problem in her garden. What about squirrels?
Now, squirrels that's a tough one because they are a destructive little bunch of buggers there, and they don't react real well. You can set traps and haul them out to the country and dump them off, I guess. You can get live traps and set them in the garden and bait them, and the squirrels will run in there, and then you can haul them off. But keeping squirrels out is a lot of people have a major problem. They'll pull the plants up and take them with them. They dig the seeds out. I mean, they are a real problem.
Well,
that is the
what
birds
about
and the
these little
voles.
plastic forks that you have? What if we put those in the ground so the points were up? Do you think something like that might work?
what about plastic forks with the tines upwards through the soil, Vicki? Would that help?
For dogs and stuff, it probably wouldn't hurt. You know, it's going to be fine. Other than the fact that they'll break easy if it's a big dog laying on them.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing, but it would at least give them the idea that, you know, something is under there that's not comfortable, that's for sure. That's the whole thing, is making it uncomfortable.
How do you make a squirrel uncomfortable, though, Vicki? How do you make a squirrel uncomfortable?
I don't know on a squirrel. That the little forks are not going to do that much for squirrels. They're going to just look at them and jump over them. Squirrels are a tough one. I would set live traps and try to haul them off.
Well, Adrian, if you're still listening in Kimberly, probably a 12-gauge shotgun might be your best answer.
Yeah, that can work too. But squirrels are really tough. They're not afraid of people is the problem.
Yeah, I know.
And they are very destructive little bugs.
One real quick question from another lady that wrote in, and she said, on my radishes, how do I know if they're ready? Should I pull a few out of the ground, or what's the time that I need to leave them in there before we dig them up and start harvesting?
Well, radishes can be eaten. I mean, once you see the size that you want them to be, they're ready to go. I mean, it's basically a size factor. You can eat them fairly young, you know, if they're the little cherry bells, they need to be about an inch in diameter, half inch to an inch in diameter, and then they're ready to go. If they've got good color and a good size to them, start eating them. They're really good young. You just don't want to let them go too long and get too old. That's when you lose them. That's when they're not good. So pull a couple up randomly throughout, you know, just kind of dig down beside them, see how big they are, and then just start eating them.
Okay, now it's time for da-da-da-da-da-da. We are too cheap to afford a band. And the question and tip of the week from Vicky's Country Garden. Go ahead, Vicky.
Okay, well, we've had a lot of hail going on here, as we all know, and some places have been hit harder than others. A lot of people are trying to replace their tomatoes and stuff because the leaves are all gone. But if the main stem is still up and standing good and green, I wouldn't get too concerned, because they will re-leaf out and they will come back. They might throw them off a little bit in time frame because they're having to kind of reboot and come back out. But as long as if the stem's broke or turning black and bent over and that type of thing, then replace them. Otherwise, give them a chance. Most of your underground crops, again, will push out new leaves. Potatoes will push out new leaves. It's peppers and things like that get in trouble. Peppers don't handle it as well. And so those are the kind of things that you would kind of want to possibly replace that. Cucumber, squash, check and see if the stems are bent on them, if they're bent off and broke. But give everything a few days of sunshine before you panic and hoe them out and put new in.
Absolutely.
They'll come back.
Absolutely. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number to call, 438-5663, with the lovely Miss Vicky, celebrating 21 years in business. God bless you, and thank you, Vicky, and we'll talk to you next next Tuesday. I did it again. I kept forgetting the holiday. Thank you.
All right, Zeb, we'll talk to you next Tuesday, and I hope everybody had a good, safe Memorial Day, and get ready for a good week. We'll have some sunshine, and everything will come back and grow.
I love it. Thanks, Vicki. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I knew I was going to forget that today is not Monday, it's Tuesday, but in my mind it still ought to be. Never mind, I'm not going to go there. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Yes, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement plan. Oh, the list goes on. They really can serve you, your family, and your business. Get a hold of them today. Offices in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your your weather forecast as we are coming off a beautiful 3-day Memorial Day weekend, and here's what we're expecting. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 78. Winds out of the west right around 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 51. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, we are expecting some severe thunderstorms, bringing along with it large hail and damaging winds. Other than that, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow with a high of 79. Those storms could continue through tomorrow evening, tapering off by about 1 o'clock in the morning, expecting a low of 52. For Thursday, chance of showers and thunderstorms maybe in the afternoon, partly sunny skies with a high of 73 for Thursday night. That could continue with a low of 47. And as we get ready for the weekend on Friday, 30% chance of showers with a high of 72. And Saturday, sunny and 78. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Brought to everybody by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They have been, like I've told you, provided accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. And they can help people starting a business or maybe a corporation, or maybe you want to expand your business. Please get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I get a chance to talk to an old buddy of mine, Jimmy Flowers. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, and a good morning to you, Mr. Bell. You sound real chipper today.
Well, I'll tell you what, I get a chance to talk to my friends, and right now you're in great plans for a very successful Mini-Cassia Auto Collectors 32nd Annual Classics on the Grass. Tell us what that means.
Well, first, I was listening to Gina with the weather report, and you let her know if it don't all go as planned, she's responsible.
Okay, I'll let her know that. Thank you. But this is going to...
Definitely hoping for a couple of good days.
Absolutely.
Been having.
The Classics on the Grass Car Show is going to be this next weekend, June 2nd and 3rd, at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. Oh, Jimmy, what kind of cars are going to be there?
Well, there's just so stinking many, you can't mention them. We've got a couple on the poster, a 1982 Corvette by Jim Lynch, and then over next to it we got a 1930 Model A from Lynn and Annie Schenck, and those are both cars worth you have to go see them to appreciate them. And that's just two of the many, many. Of course, the old Purple People Eater will be there, and a lot of other classics, but there's just so many, can't mention them all, and if I left anybody out, I feel bad.
Well, Jimmy, tell me this. It's a 32nd annual car show for the Mini-Cassia Auto Collectors. What about the gate charge? Is there an admission to get in and look at these cars?
If you're 6 and under, it's free, and if you're 7 to, I think it's 12, it's $1, and then from 13 to 69 is $3, and 70 and up is free.
Okay. Now, what about what time is it going to be that each day they'll open the gates on Saturday and Sunday?
Well, we like to open the gates early Saturday. The cars are still coming in and being parked, but there's people on their way home from work, and they'd like to get a look at them. So we'll open the gates at 9 o'clock on Saturday. But in order to really see a good look at the cars, it's best to come around 11.
Okay.
But if they do come early at 9 o'clock and think they can come back later, we can sure give them a stamp on the hand and they can get back in later.
Okay, now what is...
And that goes to 5 o'clock
okay.
on Saturday.
All right. Now, Jimmy...
Sunday, it's 9 o'clock again, and we usually... we have an award ceremony at 3, so... everybody's usually gone by 5. So if you want to see them on Sunday, it's best to get there no later than 4 o'clock.
Okay. Now, what is this? I understand you're going to have a $500 cash giveaway. How do they qualify for that?
Okay. We started doing that several years ago. It's for the participants, people that enter their car, but they cannot be a member. It's for non-members only. So all you have to do is enter your car, and you get an automatic chance at the $500 drawing at the awards ceremony on Sunday.
Okay. Jimmy, you've been fixing cars up and showing cars for a long, long time. Does it surprise you that there still are a lot of old antique cars maybe laying out in somebody's field out behind the barn as much today as there maybe were 10 years ago?
Well, I don't think there's as many as there was, but they are still there and they're still available. Some people, put them in the back of a potato cellar and forget about them, or they'll quit running or have a problem with them, and they'll park them in the backyard or park them in the shed, and then they forget about getting back to them. And there's still quite a few of them laying around that need a little help to get back up and running and on the road.
I asked you this next question, I think it was last year, the year before, but are there books on restoration of these old cars to the point where you know where to get the equipment or the parts, or how do you go about doing that?
Well, the only books I've ever used is when I'd done 2 or 3 Model A's back in the day, and there's quite an extensive literature on the restoration of the pieces and the parts, and I've helped a little on the Mopars, and I've seen some of their parts books, but then I've worked on some Chevys, and they have some really nice replacement parts books, especially for pickups. I mean, it's just amazing the stuff you can get. I done a Ford once, and I've done a Studebaker once, and the Ford, their inventory is so extensive. You can go all the way from a rubber gasket for a tail light lens to bigger heads on your motor.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, but what about the Studebakers, and what about maybe the Edsels, or cars that are not in manufacturing anymore? How do you go about getting the parts for them?
Okay, now, Studebaker has a couple of outlets. One of them, I can't remember now, it's in California, is where I got a lot of my parts. But they have quite a few of the NOS parts. That's the new old stock. And I think they've started reproducing more aftermarket parts also. I haven't dealt with them for a while, so I really can't tell you. And as far as an Edsel, the last guy I talked to, he said he had a hard time locating parts, and he got most of them from scrap yards.
Wow. Are there any cars that you can think of that basically are completely gone? You can't find any. Nobody's got one anywhere. What would that be? What are some of the more hard cars to find?
Well, I know the Marmons are getting really hard to come by. And the Grahams, I had one of them and had a terrible time getting parts. A lot of them had to be made. So those are basically gone. I was trying to remember. There was one my dad had that he really liked, and I tried looking for parts for it and couldn't find it.
Oh, my.
One of them that he did have when he was younger, he said it was a Hupmobile. And the only thing I could find on him anywhere was a set of taillights.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now, in the time remaining, why don't you give us a complete plug again for what's going to take place this coming Saturday and Sunday with the Classics on the Grass. Give us all the information one more time.
Okay, this is the 32nd annual, and it amazes me how many people right here in Burley have never heard of it and have no idea. And this is the 32nd year, which is quite a milestone. Anyway, on June 2nd and 3rd, that's Saturday and Sunday, this coming weekend, it's going to be at the Mini-Cassia Fairgrounds. Registrations are going to start from 7:30 to 11 on Saturday morning. Okay, and your first car entry, if you only bring one, when you enter your car, it includes a dash plaque, 2 steak dinners, and 2 chuck wagon breakfasts, and 1 T-shirt. And that's going to cost you $35 to enter, but you're getting quite a bit of stuff for that amount of money.
Absolutely.
You're also eligible for the $500, and you're eligible for whatever trophies your vehicle may bring. There are going to be additional T-shirts and dinners the person can buy. The additional T-shirts are going to run $15 until you get up to 2X and 3X, then they're $2 more. If you want to bring more people with your family, an extra breakfast meal is $4 and a dinner meal is $6. That's for the adults. And a lot of people bring their kids, and the kids' extra breakfast and dinner are both $3 each.
All right, now, Jimmy, maybe right now before we wrap things up, you might want to mention the sponsors of the Classics on the Grass.
Okay, well, we keep a list of them the major ones here on our flyer. There's Mr. Gas, there's Young Auto, and we have a new one this year we picked up, and we're very happy to have them help sponsor United Metals Recycling out of Havern, and then J&L Electric. And I do have quite a list of, what we call minor sponsors, or those that are glad to help out, or they give meals, or they give automotive products or stuff. We have quite a, from the very first years for not having any help until now, we have quite a bit of help. Our procurement officer has done good for finding people willing to help.
Well, I'll tell you what, either Frida's got a great big grandfather clock in the background, or you're over in England by Big Ben. I don't know what it is, but I can sure hear that clock.
That's happened before. I'll tell you what, if you want to come up with a question, you can ask on the air or ask later, and I'll have 2 tickets that you can give away, and they can probably pick them up at the radio, sometime Thursday, after Thursday, in case you want to give some more away then.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy, I'll give some tickets away tomorrow morning on the broadcast. How's that, buddy?
That's just great, bud. The club really appreciates your help, too.
All right. Well, God bless you, my friend. Thanks for being on the program.
Okay, buddy. Thank you, and may God be with you and your family.
He has been. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Jimmy Flowers, and talking about the Mini-Cassia Auto Collectors 32nd Annual Classics on the Grass, going to be this coming weekend at the Cassia County Fairgrounds in Burley. I'll tell you what, fantastic cars to go and take a look at. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it. By the way, too, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, you'd better think about having them help you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, dedicated and responsive to your needs. You get a hold of them today. All you have to do is call them at 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, I've got exactly 30 seconds. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead quickly.
Oh, yes. I had a question to the guy on the radio for the used cars or the car show.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for, me and my father have a 1965 Crown Victoria Ford, and I was wondering if there was somewhere you could find parts for, or if he knew any places that could find them for, at cheap or decent prices.
I'll tell you what, caller, the man's name is Jimmy Flowers. He's in the phone book in Burley. You call him. He knows everything and anything about cars. He'll help you, okay?
Okay, in Burley?
Yes, Jimmy Flowers. He's the great, great man. Thank you. I've got to run to the news right now, caller. I appreciate it very much. We're going to be back with Dr. History next half hour right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, take it away. Oh, welcome back on a Tuesday. I know that's a Tuesday because Dr. History just walked in. Don't forget Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, saying if you're getting ready for a road trip, they've got all your tires. Stop in and see them today. And some of our great advertisers, as Dr. History's making way too much noise in the background. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb.
How
what a
are
great
you?
Day.
Did you have a nice Memorial Day weekend?
We had family together. We went to the cemeteries. We had a barbecue last night, and just it was a nice weekend.
Sounds almost comparable to what we did.
Yeah. Just a nice weekend.
You know, the weekend was nice for the barbecues and the family gatherings and everything, but it takes a little time to remember and really remember the real meaning of Memorial Day. And I understand that you have something you'd like to share with us.
I do. You know, last year I was reading a book by about Ernie Pyle, who was a World War II war correspondent.
Yes.
And Ernie Pyle was one of the most well-read and respected war correspondents in World War II. And after I read the account that he gave of the death of a guy by the name of Captain Waskow, And when these fellows would die, they would lay them next to this stone wall. And so I just kind of had this come to me, so I'd like to do this. And this is dedicated to all those in all the wars that have served, that preserved our freedom.
Right.
So it's called the Stone Wall. The men arose, prepared for the day, a day like so many others. Rifles, helmets, and all the gear, a bond like so many brothers. Orders came down the line, orders for soldiers to obey, wondering what the day would bring. Home folks praying day after day. From a ship, a bomber in a tank, or those with boots on the ground, they are the greatest generation, no braver men to be found. They volunteered, willing to serve with mud, blood, courage, and fear, forever hoping war would end, never knowing if death was near. Captain Waskow's body lay quiet and still in the shadow of the stone wall. A true leader loved by his men, why did this man have to fall? His men gazed at the lifeless form, questions, no answers, but why? Willing to fight for family and country, and yes, even willing to die. Peace would come in the end, the cost so many gave their all. Let's remember those who didn't return, those neath the shadow of the stone wall.
Wow. Wow, what can you say?
And I'm just going to leave that with you.
Oh, can I have? I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that.
I just hope that, in a lot of countries around the world, there are people who fought for a cause. And I think we need to acknowledge the bravery throughout the world, really.
The bravery and the commitment and the families that were involved in that bravery and commitment. It wasn't just the soldier. Right. It was the families also.
It was.
That was nice. Thank you very much.
So now we're going to head right into a story.
Now, I'm a little hesitant because I had a couple of calls after last week's program.
No food.
Are you going no food today?
No food today. In fact, I'm going to step out on a limb here a little bit and say I'm going to bet nobody has heard of this person.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'll be, if somebody has, let me know. Okay, the story is called Florida's Pocahontas.
Wait a minute. Florida's
Pocahontas. And you'll see as we go along.
Okay.
So it was on or about August 27th, 1818, and Florida at that time was hot and humid. And
some things never change.
Yeah. And there was a group of 188 kind of bedraggled Indians, mostly women and children, starving. They shuffled silently into Fort Gadsden near the mouth of the Apalachicola. And
you want to try that one again?
In the mouth of the Apalachicola River. And I don't know if that's even close.
Why don't you just call it a river?
The river, that's okay. Anyway, this is on Florida's Gulf Coast. They surrendered themselves to the fort's commander, a Colonel Matthew Arbuckle. Among them were the recent widow and two daughters of a guy by the name of the Prophet Francis. And I'll explain that. The younger daughter, 15-year-old Millie, or Malie as she was known, was a strikingly beautiful and was well known to the whites for having saved the life of one of their soldiers. Okay. Now, nearly overwhelmed by their numbers and their sorry condition, Colonel Arbuckle did all in his power to tend to their immediate needs, providing food, water, medicine, a place for them to rest. He also sent word to the soldier that Mellie had saved, and his name was Private Duncan McCrimmon, who had been returned to his home in Georgia. Now, while Millie, and the Americans we would call her Millie, but her Indian name was Malie, and that's what I'm going to use.
Okay.
So just a young girl. But anyway, while Malie and the group rested, regaining their strength, the young soldier made his way to Fort Gadsden, carrying donations from citizens who were eager to show their appreciation for Malie's efforts on McCrimmon's behalf. Remembering how she had interceded for him at the risk of her own life, Private McCrimmon presented her with the gifts and actually asked her to be his wife. Now, Malie gratefully accepted the donations, which she shared with the other Indians, but she gracefully declined the offer of marriage, and she basically said, I didn't save you for that. I didn't save you so that you would marry me. And anyway, Colonel Arbuckle reported that Malie said she saved McCrimmon's life, basically from feelings of humanity alone, and that she would have rendered the same service to any other white man under the same circumstances. And she was therefore not really disposed or interested in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, already in her young life, she'd been witness to a lot of pretty cruel acts on both sides of the whites and the Indians. So she was not naive. She knew what happened.
By the way, how old was she?
She was about 15 right now. Yeah. So, but she was born in 1803, the youngest daughter of a guy known in English as the Prophet Francis or Josiah Francis. So I'm going to call him Chief Francis for the sake of the story. And that's her father.
Yeah.
And he was a prominent Creek chief who was the offspring of an Englishman and a Creek woman.
Oh.
Okay. Now, Malie's mother was the only family member who did not speak in English. She was Indian, as I mentioned. Since most Indian girls received little education except from their mothers, Chief Francis must have taken it upon himself to instruct his children in English. So she learned English as well as the Indian language.
I see.
Now, confusion kind of abounded among whites with regard to Indian names. Girls usually kept the same name they were given at birth, but not so with the boys. Now, at birth, a boy was given his baby name, such as like Little Cub or whatever, and then another name when he reached warrior age and completed a dangerous deed, and sometimes actually a third name after he completed something, a daring act during battle or something like that. So the boys had at least 2 and sometimes 3 names.
I didn't know that.
So, but as I said further...
My dad had a lot of names for me.
I bet he did. But, further, as the males achieved other goals, actually still more names could be added. Now, as I mentioned, her father was Chief Francis, and he was a medicine man, and the whites frequently called him the Prophet. So that's where they come in with the Prophet or Chief Francis. But as I said, warriors often had second names, and the white men kind of muddled things even further by phonetically writing Indians' names, which they heard through the white man's language. So Malie became Millie.
Millie.
Yeah. So, because that's more what you would hear. So here we are, the early 1800s. Spain, Britain, and America battled each other and the Indians for control of Florida. Now, while the outbreak of the War of 1812, her father, Chief Francis, who then lived with his family near the Chattahoochee River in what is now Alabama, was enlisted by a friend to join the English. So he joined the British cause. So he was known to have...
In fighting against the United States.
Right, yeah. So he was enlisted by a friend to join the English. He was known to have assisted the British against Andrew Jackson and the Americans.
Wow.
So... But, at that stage, what do you do? Which side do you really go with? That'd be hard to know. So in 1813, 1814, Chief Francis took his family south, establishing a new Seminole village in Spanish Florida, south of Tallahassee, near Fort St. Mark's. And I'm not familiar with that place.
I think I know vaguely where you mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's 1816. Chief Francis, accompanied by a British officer, embarked on a trip to England, where, in recognition of his assistant, he was received with great ceremony by Prince Regent George IV. He was commissioned, actually, a brigadier general. Okay, now here's an Indian chief. Commissioned a brigadier general in the British Army.
Okay, now this is after the War of 1812.
Right, yeah, this is 1816.
And his allegiance was still with the British.
Yeah, yeah. And he actually got an elaborate uniform of red and gold. They gave him 325 British pounds, which was a lot of money, and a tomahawk mounted in gold. They had a big, huge dance in his honor aboard a Russian ship anchored nearby. Trumpets heralded his arrival, according to London newspapers. But interestingly enough, Chief Francis, never really tried to help England after that. And I don't know if he just kind of had a change of heart after being there. But when he came home, he
did sail back to this country.
Right, yeah. He sailed home determined to live in peace with the white men. So he like I say, he helped the British, but then he kind of said, okay, we're done with that.
Yeah.
Well, upon her father's return from England in June of, now we're 1817, Malie received many presents of dresses and shoes and bonnets that he brought back from England. Now, at that time, hostilities were kind of escalating among the Americans, the Spaniards, the British, and the Indians, resulting in another invasion by Andrew Jackson's army in 1818. Now, entering Florida near the mouth of the Chattahoochee River, Jackson continued to a place called Fort Gadsden. Now, while his army was at rest, this Private Duncan McCrimmon, okay, he's the guy, and you'll see what I'm going to say here. He was attached to General Jackson's army. He went fishing early one morning. He got confused trying to get back to his camp and was lost for several days. He was wandering about trying to find his way home when he was spotted by a party of unfriendly Indians. They overpowered him, took him to the town of where Chief Francis was, Malie's father. Okay, so have you got the picture here?
Kind of.
Okay.
No, these are Seminole Indians, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so they captured this Private McCrimmon, took him to the camp where Malie's father was chief.
Right.
Now, Francis actually appeared in a splendid uniform. This nice British uniform that he had on.
All right.
And he had some pistols in his belt. He displayed his British commission to the prisoner. He then allowed the captors to interrogate McCrimmon, who eventually gave them the information they wanted regarding the strength and location of the American forces. So they were still kind of not really for the Americans yet. They were still kind of siding with the British. Well, that done, they decided that it was time to sacrifice McCrimmon. So McCrimmon was stripped and his face was blackened with soot before he was tied to a stake. War cries commenced, which of course scared the heck out of this young man.
Oh, no, wait. Scared the heck out of. No, I think it goes deeper than that.
Well, he was terrified. Okay. Now, Malie and her sister, they were playing on the riverbank near their home and immediately understood the significance of what they heard, and they hurried in the direction of the sounds. Now, seeing the terrified young man, who was really not much older than Malie was, so he's probably only 18, 19 maybe, and she was about 15 or 16. So they stopped, and they saw that he was tied to a tree, helpless, while two warriors danced around him with rifles, ready to shoot, and everybody was kind of looking on and just watching what was happening. Well, Malie, she was kind of overcome with sadness, and she remained silent for a little while, and she didn't feel like she could participate in the excitement or the merriment that was going on.
Merriment?
Yeah. I mean, this was an enemy. Okay. So, anyway, it was their right, the guys who had captured him, she knew, for it was accepted that if an Indian caught a white person, he had that life in his power and could not be interfered with, not even by the chief. Now, seeing the terror on the young prisoner's face, Malie went to her father, the chief, begging him, saying, can't you do something? And she knew that he was helpless. He couldn't do anything to help. And he says, well, you just go talk to the captors. Go talk to the guys that it's their right to kill him. So she went back to the warriors and she begged them to stop, saying...
They're dancing all this time?
Yeah. And so she went to them saying, he's just a boy. One of the warriors became so mad, telling her that he had actually lost 2 sisters in the war with the white men. So he was pretty much wanted to kill the guy. So anyway, she was unwilling to give up, and she kept on pleading and reminding that killing the prisoner wouldn't bring his sisters back, and the warriors were still unmoved. They were still bent on killing McCrimmon. Well, when all seemed lost, the captors were ready to terminate forever the mortal existence of the unfortunate McCrimmon. Malie placed herself between the captive and death, telling to the astonished executioners, if he thirsted for blood so bad, to kill her. Now that goes right back to Pocahontas, remember, and Smith.
Well, Malie didn't graduate at the top of her class.
Well, she was a very compassionate woman.
Yes.
Well, anyway, the 2 warriors finally relented. And they,
are you kidding me?
They agreed to let McCrimmon live if he would consent to have his head shaved and not try to escape.
Well, what's the head shaving?
I don't know. Shave his head. So
is it an embarrassment?
No. I think it was so that he would be part of the tribe. So, without hesitation, obviously, McCrimmon agreed. His head was shaved except for a little scalp lock, so I assume that was just a little part on top. And
yeah, well, the Indians, I'm trying to think of the tribe. It wasn't the Iroquois. Yeah, it was the Iroquois. They used to have that little top notch.
Yeah. And so he had this little scalp lock. They adorned it with feathers. They painted him, dressed him in their style, and they considered him now adopted into the tribe.
So he didn't go back to the army.
Well, wait.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Okay, Malee showed McCrimmon kindness for the next several days before he was actually taken away to Fort St. Mark's, where there was a ransom negotiated, and he didn't try to escape, but he was ransomed for 7.5 gallons of rum and permitted to rejoin the army. So
for 7.5 gallons of rum,
this guy was set free.
He was set free.
Yeah.
Did he cut off the top notch?
I don't know.
Oh.
So President Jackson's army. Okay, now he's an American. All right. So here we are. There were 2 schooners, 2 ships that were sent to act as reinforcement for the Americans. They made their way up the Appalachian River, where they anchored, and 2 American ships flying British flags.
Wait, whoa.
Okay. They were doing that to conceal their identity. All right. Now, stay with me here.
I am.
The newly freed McCrimmon knew they were American, not British. But he rode out and actually got on the ship. Now, since British flags were flying, Chief Francis thought, okay, these are British. These are my friends. He and another chief rode out to visit what they thought was a friendly ship. The captain welcomed them on board, invited them to his cabin for something to eat. As they followed him, several Americans emerged from hiding, rushed towards the 2 chiefs, and captured them. All right? So now here's 2 chiefs, Malee's father, on an American ship that he thought was British.
The plot thickens.
It does. Now, when McCrimmon appeared, Chief Francis reminded him of how his life had been spared such a short time before by his daughter.
Yeah.
And McCrimmon said, "You didn't save my life. Your daughter did. I don't owe you anything." So that's not sitting too well. All right. So that afternoon, Malee actually was seen paddling around the ship, apparently trying to find her father. Suddenly, shots fired from the ship. She grabbed a rifle. She hid in the bottom of the canoe and returned fire, and then she went back to shore. So she knew something was not good.
Well, yeah, when somebody's shooting at you.
So anyway, McCrimmon's efforts to saving the lives of the 2 chiefs was fruitless. Andrew Jackson arrived the next morning, received a report of what was going on. So now Chief Francis was in Jackson's power, still wearing this British uniform that he had.
Okay, but now the chief thought they were on British ships. When did they take down the British flags and let everybody know?
Well, as soon as they got on, they let him know, hey, you're our prisoners now.
You are confusing.
I'm trying to keep this straight. Okay, so, and unfortunately, at this point, they hung both chiefs.
I see.
Chief Malee's father, Chief Francis, and the other chief.
Okay.
Well, so things were not good now between anybody. And I know we're about out of time, so I'm
a little
about done.
testy, yeah.
I know. Anyway, after Chief Francis' death, conditions in the village continued to decline. Shortly after the mass surrender at Fort Gadsden, his family joined other Seminoles on a long journey out to Oklahoma Territory for resettlement. Years passed during which there was no recorded account of Malee's exact whereabouts. We only know that she survived the journey to get out from Florida to Oklahoma, which, as we know, they were always given the worst ground.
Yeah.
You know. But on their way to Oklahoma Territory, Malee's tribe had to compete with other tribes for resources. Indian agents hired by the government, they didn't treat them right. Actually, they got to the point where President John Taylor sent a guy by the name of Hitchcock, a colonel, to see what was going on. And as he got out there and he saw that things were not good for the Indians, he, on their behalf, started getting food, clothing, and taking care of them the way they had been promised. So he actually did help them. Well, as things went on, Malee actually finally came to the end of her life. She died in 1848. And, again...
She died a young woman.
She did.
Yeah.
She was about 45, 40, right in there.
45 right in there.
But she didn't recover. She died. And so Florida's Pocahontas died in 1848 and was buried somewhere They say between the city of Muskogee and the banks of the Arkansas River. And actually, the government had actually, as I said, tried to help. They actually promised her a pension and a medal, but she died without ever getting any of the pension that they had promised.
Whatever happened to the soldier that went on a fishing trip that about got him shot?
That's a good question. He no longer shows up in the story.
Really, no more?
Well, you know, I mean, your potential father-in-law, you stood by and let him get hung.
Yeah,
you know, so
there's things that need to be said there, but I don't think I'm going to say it.
So,
wow,
you know, Malie was a brave young woman who dared to challenge warriors and the chief to save a young man's life, and it wasn't because who he was.
And there was no reciprocity later.
No.
Yeah.
But like I say, she did what she needed to do. She ended up out in Oklahoma. On a reservation that was nowhere near as
How
nice.
much do you trust the documentation on these kinds of stories?
You know, to me, when I can get a journal, a diary, or something like that, that is the most reliable. So this is a book that I hope is accurate, and I believe that it is. I mean, they have footnotes of where they got the information.
Yeah.
So I try to keep these stories as historically accurate as possible. So, but again, we're looking at one author's version of this whole story.
Wow.
So
she was the Seminole Indian Pocahontas.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, Florida's Pocahontas.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Dr. History, thank you.
You bet.
Excellent job this morning. And that poem you did was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we got about 30 seconds left here that you, always being so organized, you have everything all set up for next week's program.
I do. It's sitting at home in my library, just waiting to be opened.
That's a cop-out.
Just waiting to see.
No, very interesting. And can you give us a clue as to what you're not going to go into more food, are you?
No, we're done with that for a while.
Believe me, we're done with the food for a while. Yeah, thank you. But very interesting. Thank you.
Well, again, this is a time to remember things of the past.
Absolutely.
Of the people that served. And I don't think I'm going to bet there's a lot of families living right now that have uncles, grandparents, great-uncles, aunts that were involved.
A lot of stories.
Yes.
A lot of stories.
Yes.
Dr. History, Dr. Ken Turner, one of my dearest friends. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay.
Thank you. We're going to take a break right after I remind you on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by two sponsors, A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley. All the baby clothing, all the baby furniture, everything. Don't forget to stop in, and they also have all the Cherokee scrubs too. Really comfortable, you'll enjoy at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. The number to call, 677-8888. 1344 Highland is the address for you to save money on your outpatient surgeries like life-saving colonoscopies, knee surgery, etc. All of this and more at the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 677-8888, along with The Child's World, bringing you School Days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Let's send it over to our main studios. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I have a lot of favorite guests on this program, and this next lady is one of them. She's very articulate, very knowledgeable about what's going on with illegal alien immigration and immigration in general in this country. And I say good morning to a lady that's the National Director for the Remembrance Project, Maria Espinoza. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
Just fine. You know, it's interesting, the day after the Memorial Day weekend, and of course you're the National Director for the Remembrance Project. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. The Remembrance Project, what is it that you do or hope to achieve?
Well, we're raising awareness about the killings of Americans by people who shouldn't be here in the first place, and it all has to do
with enforcing existing laws. My husband, Tim Ling, and I started this in 2009 to give a voice to the victims, those who no longer have a voice. And we never realized that we would be right in the middle of this hot topic and a big national attention on this terrible and preventable killing. So here we are today, and again, I think it's very sad that our own officials cannot represent our children and, all of Americans. They'd rather go to bat for those who shouldn't be here, illegal aliens.
I'm going to ask you a very simple question, and it only has 3 letters. Why? Why are the Democrats and the liberals in our society so hell-bent, and they are, on trying to help others other than American taxpayers? What's going on here?
Right, and that's a question that we had, for years, and, it took us several years to figure out what was going on, because at first we thought that maybe some elected officials really didn't know what was going on, and maybe 2 or 3 years it would take maximum for us to do this to then get back to our normal lives. But what we learned was that our officials are bought and paid for by the U.S. Chambers of Commerce, the hotel, restaurant, construction industries, and it's so much about power and money. They love these positions, these politicians, their cush positions, and they're treated like royalty, and they don't want to let that go, so they're going to bend over backwards for those U.S. Chambers of Commerce and those industries that will help fund their reelection campaigns. And this is what we're talking about. But yet, Americans are dying by the, tens of thousands of Americans have been killed. And now with Donald Trump, when he first ran, and he was the only candidate, Zeb, of all of the candidates on both sides of the aisle who reached out and listened to the angel moms and dads, our stolen lives families, as we call them. And he hasn't forgotten them, and he's working hard, but he really needs us to support him as well.
Maria, last week on my program, I ran a 4-part series on illegal immigration, the refugees coming in, the costs involved, and the culture change, and the damage to the environment, etc. Frosty Woldridge, a good friend of mine from Colorado, was involved in that 4-part series, and it was so eye-opening to me that we're letting literally in the next 10, 15, and 20 years, literally millions and millions of people in this country that we're going to see a complete culture change and possibly even a change to our Constitution. I don't know why more Americans aren't standing up and saying no.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't know. They watch the mainstream media. They don't realize that this is fake news going on, and not giving them the information that they need. And that's one reason why we created the Stolen Lives quilt, is a visual memorial for the who have been killed. And that is our quilt that you saw on stage with Donald Trump, and continue seeing that on all about. It's a 6-foot-long banner by 3 feet tall, and we memorialized 3 victims on each one. But we knew quickly that certainly we weren't the only ones who realized what was going on, and that statistics were probably being ignored. So we created this visual memorial. But you're right. Governor Brown himself has said that there is a water shortage, and it's basically because there are too many people. Our resources can't handle this influx invasion that's going on and continues.
But, I don't know about you, but I can say in my part, I've been called a bigot and a hate monger and other names I can't use on the radio, because I've said, wait a minute, we've got to start looking at what's happening in America, and literally a fragmentation of America with all these different cultures and no assimilation. They don't really want to assimilate, and they're changing everything at a severe cost to the taxpayers. I don't understand why we're putting up with this, and it seems like it's a concentrated effort by the left to basically just alter the entire face of America.
Absolutely right. And it's not just the left. Our Republicans on this side has also adopted some of those because there's money in there. And as you can see, last year we heard that there were going to be some no amnesty bills pushed through, and that's exactly what's taking place. And you saw what we call the Dirty 34 GOP who wrote a letter to Speaker Paul Ryan earlier in the year asking for an amnesty for these DACA recipients. Well, we challenged them. We sent letters to every one of them. And now you're seeing that this discharge petition is going through. And, supposedly the GOP and Paul Ryan have lost control. But know that all this is planned. And we've heard this. We've been trying to head it off at the pass and trying to alert people to continue calling President Trump and letting him know that we support him. He has to know that he has his basis support. But also, we need to push back on the GOP leadership because the Democrat Party is gone. They're all on board with an open border amnesty, which absolutely will change our Constitution. As you can see now, Zeb, look, under Title 8, Section 1324, aiding and abetting is against the law, and yet we have the Oakland mayor, Libby Schaaf, alerting the community of ICE coming in. We have a judge in Oregon aiding and abetting an illegal alien to escape ICE agents that were outside her hallway. She allowed this illegal alien to escape through her chamber door. This is outrageous. Governor Brown, a sanctuary state, and it's growing. So we really have to recruit people and let them know, educate them know to what's going on, make those calls. We have to be very stern and consistent, not just once a week either, and call across state lines, Zeb, because apparently our legislators don't care about zip codes, about borders, so they shouldn't care about zip codes. So there is a lot going on, and I'm glad that you're out there speaking the truth and sharing information.
Well, one of the things, and I'm going to probably sound to much of my listening audience as being very calloused and not caring when I say this, but I don't care anymore about the families and the parents and the children coming into this country illegally, and then when they are caught and captured, the disruption that it makes in their lives. If they didn't break the law and they weren't trying to come in the dark of night and cross our borders illegally, they wouldn't have put themselves and their children into harm's way. And I've lost my caring. The gallon of milk that says the milk of human kindness is dry in my refrigerator.
And you are in the same boat as many of us are, because those illegal aliens place their children and themselves in harm's way. And just think about this: President doing the right thing. If it was an American parent who did this, they would be charged with child abuse, child endangerment.
Yeah.
So finally, we're going to see that the illegal aliens' status of being untouchable come to an end under President Trump. And you also are seeing that the loopholes are coming to a head as well in our laws. For instance, we cannot supposedly deport a minor to their country of origin if it's other than Mexico, if it's not a contiguous country. So this should be this loophole should be closed. And, making sure that our Congress, point to our Congress again, because they need to make sure that our country is safe, that Americans are safe, and that should be their priority, not up here in Washington, D.C., trying to find a way to legalize illegal aliens. All the while, they have seen over and over and over, Zeb, American children being killed. They obviously are okay with American children being killed. They'd rather defend the illegal aliens.
Well, we've seen so many stories, so many horrendous stories. I guess the most notable was, Kate Steinle when it went to the press about being shot on a dock in San Francisco with her father. But then there's so many other stories, horror stories, that I know you know each one and could relate it on the air. But why are we putting up with this? Why are we providing sanctuary cities? Why are we providing sanctuary states? I mean, I don't understand why the American taxpayers haven't gathered up pitchforks and are walking down Pennsylvania Avenue. What's the matter with us?
Well, let's say this. You're right. Some of them are just watching the mainstream media, fake news, and we have jobs as well. Who can take off to come out here and tell Congress to get with the program and protect our families? And these guys know that once you have a couple days off, you're back home, and then they're free and clear again. So they come up here behind closed doors and do their dirty deeds. So that's why, we have a foothold here that we're in Washington, D.C. now. We're going to be opening up the channels to other groups, just like us, that we have the grassroots now here in D.C. We plan on keeping it. So if there are any major groups out there that want to join this coalition, we are open to doing that. And this is the first time I've talked about it. But we see what has to be done, and we're willing to help out other groups like we've always done for 9 years. But we have to be here right there in front of them in their offices and constantly demanding and calling their home offices as well, their district offices and Washington, D.C. So we cannot stop. This is the first time that we have an America First president, and, he's doing his best, so I think it's up to us to do our best as well.
Let me ask you this thought, and then we're probably going to have to wrap things up. But is it a sense of naivete with the congressmen and senators, or is it graft and corruption and money under the table to work with the illegal aliens and illegal immigration? What's the story here? Are they just dumb, or do they see things and not say things?
In my opinion, Zeb, they know what's going on, and it's easier to go along, just to get along. They like the position, they like the notoriety, and I think that it's too easy, for them to look at our Constitution and place Americans first. One representative told us that they have to do something for the DACA recipients. They have to protect the DACA recipients. No, they don't. They have to protect America. They have to protect American children. And that's one reason why we are not endorsing or signing on to the endorsement of Representative Chairman Bob Goodlatte's Bill 4760, because it is an amnesty, Zeb, and we're demanding that these officials on all levels of government enforce existing laws so that we can be safe and place Americans first.
When I saw the Dreamers standing at the entrance of Disneyland in California and shaking their fist and making obscene gestures and swearing and cursing at people and demanding that they get their way, you can darn sure bet your bottom dollar that solidified my animosity towards them. Don't give them anything. But yet our politicians pave the way.
Absolutely. We have the MS-13 gangs as well, heavily recruiting in that demographic. We have the Mexican consulates opening up centers of defense, pouring $50 million into it to help keep illegal aliens here. We need to make sure that money is used to represent them in our courts. Why are American taxpayers paying for their defense while Mexico is being, rewarded for pushing out their citizens, but also tagging on a remittance fee for the money that's going into their country to the illegal aliens' families and profiting off of it. So American taxpayers getting the short end of the stick, but mostly and most importantly is that we're paying for it in American lives.
Maria, one final thought, and I don't mean to sound really negative on this, but is there honestly hope that we can turn this thing around?
Absolutely, Zeb. And take a look. Two people, Tim, my husband and I, in 2009 started this, and we were probably just speaking to ourselves and didn't know, but we were continuing to be led, but also encouraged because we felt that it had the information we had needed to be out there. And sure enough, thank God that we were in place when Donald Trump announced and said that Mexico is not sending the very best. And we were proof. We were the evidence. We had the evidence in the families and the banners and, the mothers with the memorial shirts. Finally, someone listened. So, yes, absolutely. But it will take people rising up and recruiting those, educating others as well, but identifying good candidates to run and encouraging them to run, because we have to replace these individuals. But continue pressing and calling, because that's what we can do immediately.
Absolutely. I have the utmost respect for this lady and what she's doing. She is the National Director of the Remembrance Project, Maria Espinoza. God bless you and keep up the good work. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless you, and please, I ask your listeners to continue praying for us.
Absolutely. Maria, please come back soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. That lady absolutely is excellent, and the work that her husband, and her staff are doing absolutely must continue. This country and its survival, our Constitution and its survival, and the protection of our sovereign borders and its survival all depend on people like her husband, you, me, everybody, to stand up and say enough is enough. We're going to have a weather forecast right now. I think you're going to like this. Oh, there's a little bit of the forecast that kind of makes you go, woo, watch out. But we'll hear it in just a minute. The weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, Don Scarrow and the crew, is 324-7657. Or you can go to their website. Oh, boy, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats for all kinds of occasions, like the marinated prime ribs and the smoked ham. And all the breakfast bacons and all the different types, like the buckboard bacon and the breakfast sausages and the bratwurst. Well, the list goes on and on. You better get a hold of them today. Delicious meats at Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we are coming off a beautiful 3-day Memorial Day weekend, and here's what we're expecting. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 78. Winds out of the west right around 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 51. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, we are expecting some severe thunderstorms, bringing along with it large hail and damaging winds. Other than that, mostly sunny skies for tomorrow with a high of 79. Those storms could continue through tomorrow evening, tapering off by about 1 o'clock in the morning, expecting a low of 52. For Thursday, chance of showers and thunderstorms maybe in the afternoon, partly sunny skies with a high of 73. For Thursday night, that could continue with a low of 47. And as we get ready for the weekend on Friday, 30% chance of showers with a high of 72. And Saturday, sunny and 78. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Hey, thank you, Gina. Excellent job. And, of course, the weather brought to you this hour by our friends Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats. Wow, delicious meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Yup, it's true. They're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, I've got time for a call. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. I have a couple of notices that I need to make here real quick. What did I do with that? Oh, here it is. The Jerome and Twin Falls Republicans are sponsoring a reception for Maxine Bell Saturday, June 2nd, coming up this Saturday from 10 to 12 at the Jerome Country Club. And be sure and go and wish Maxine the best in retirement. What a great legislator she was. And now retiring, but a great big reception this Saturday coming up June 2nd from 10 until noon at the Jerome Country Club. Don't miss that. And also I've been told that Marion Wickham at the Rupert United Methodist Church at 605 H Street has said they're planning on a Great Vacation Bible School, and it's going to be starting on Monday, June 25th through Friday, June 29th. And for more information, I'm trying to find the telephone number, 436-3354. And earlier this morning, we had Jimmy on the air, and Deanne, I lost all the information for Jimmy. He's probably going to shoot me. Here it is. I got it. The Mini-Cash Auto Collectors 32nd Annual Classics on the Grass car show is going to be at the Cache County Fairgrounds this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and everybody try to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, we're going to give away a couple of tickets so that you can get free admission going into that big car show, Classics on the Grass at the Cache County Fairgrounds on Saturday and Sunday. Do not forget our major sponsor, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations saying, are you getting ready for a road trip, Bunky? Well, I'll tell you what, they've got the best of tires for your car, your pickup, your SUV. Oh, yeah. And at prices you can't afford to pass up. So you get in there today and check out all the road trip tires for you. Along with that, you know doggone well that they've got that free pre-trip safety check. They'll check your air pressure on your tires, brake components, wheel alignment for tire wear, front end components. I say it again, components is the word. Shocks or struts, batteries. They'll check everything to make sure that when you leave town, you can turn around and come back to town. So stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Absolutely the best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Who have we got on the program tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you what, we got an open forum from 8 to 9, and then, of course, at 9:06, Dave Vigo from Indianapolis, Indiana. Then a change in the order. At 9:30, we've got Frosty Woldridge coming on the air tomorrow morning from Golden, Colorado, and then at 10:06, we got Dan Perkins talking about these ridiculous, absolutely asinine increases in gas prices. And then my old buddy, emphasis on the word old, George Mass will be here in the studio at 10:30 and talking about the 4th annual Idaho Roll Call Memorial Ride. All of that tomorrow right here on Zeb at the Ranch, where we always have something we say at the end of our program. I'll get right to it. We want to remind you we're on KBAR 1230 AM and then streaming live all over the world on zebbell.com. Now the end line, and we'll send it over to Wheels. The way things were are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.